Flames tore across Akagi's flight deck as dive bombers struck. At Midway, Japan's mighty flagship met her fate. This is the sinking of IJN Akagi. And from the Inferno, we must understand why Akagi mattered so profoundly before Midway. You see, the Akagi was never meant to be a carrier. Originally laid down as a battlecruiser, her fate shifted when the Washington Naval Treaty forced Japan to rethink its naval ambitions. Instead of scrapping her hull, engineers transformed Akagi into one of the Imperial Navy's first full-sized aircraft carriers. Unlike the smaller carriers that preceded her, Akagi was built to project power across oceans, capable of carrying more than 90 aircraft. By the late 1930s, she had become the pride of Japan's fleet, a floating fortress and symbol of modern naval warfare. As flagship of the First Air Fleet, Akagi led the strike on Pearl Harbor, where her planes crippled America's Pacific battleships. For months after, Akagi stood at the spearhead of Japan's dominance, a vessel that seemed untouchable, until Midway changed everything. But Akagi's greatest trial came as Japan set its sights on Midway. Midway Atoll, a tiny speck in the vast Pacific, carried enormous weight. For Japan, it was both a strategic outpost and a baited trap. By seizing it, the Imperial Navy hoped to extend its defensive perimeter and draw America's remaining carriers into a decisive ambush. Confident after months of victory, Japanese planners believed US naval strength could be crushed in one blow. At the heart of this plan was Akagi, sailing proudly as flagship of Admiral Nagumo's first carrier striking force. Alongside Kaga, Soryu, Desailly, and Hiryu, she carried elite pilots who had already proven devastating at Pearl Harbor and across Southeast Asia. But what Japan did not know was that American intelligence had broken their codes. Instead of walking into an ambush, US carriers were waiting, ready to turn Midway into the battle that would decide the Pacific's future. As dawn broke, the first moves of this deadly chess match unfolded. On June 4th, 1942, Japanese aircraft roared off Akagi's deck, bound for Midway Island. Their mission: obliterate American airfields and defenses, paving the way for invasion. The skies over Midway erupted with anti-aircraft fire as US Marines fought desperately to hold their ground. While Akagi's pilots inflicted heavy damage, they failed to fully silence the island's defenders. Meanwhile, American reconnaissance aircraft were already shadowing the Japanese fleet, reporting positions with remarkable precision. Back aboard Akagi, Admiral Nagumo weighed a fateful choice: rearm his aircraft for a second strike on Midway, or prepare for the possibility of US carriers nearby. The hesitation would prove costly. As Japanese crews scrambled to reload planes in the hangars below, the US Navy's own strike groups were forming, setting in motion the clash that would seal Akagi's fate. But in a single devastating moment, Akagi's dominance would shatter beyond repair. Late that morning, American dive bombers from the USS Enterprise pierced the skies above the Japanese fleet. While much of the defending combat air patrol was lured away, Akagi lay exposed. From high altitude, Lieutenant Richard Best and his squadron dove steeply, releasing bombs with deadly precision. One struck Akagi near the midship elevator, punching through the flight deck into the hangar below. The timing was catastrophic. Her hangars were crowded with fueled and armed aircraft, preparing for a second wave. Within seconds, fireballs erupted, igniting aviation fuel that coursed like rivers through passageways. Explosions tore through compartments, sending smoke billowing skyward and scattering crewmen in chaos. The once proud flagship was now an inferno at sea, her flight deck twisted, her operations crippled. In minutes, Akagi's fate was sealed, undone by a single, perfectly placed bomb. Survival now depended on seconds, as chaos consumed Japan's proud flagship. Crewmen rushed with hoses, buckets, and desperate resolve to contain the flames. But despite being surrounded by water, Akagi's corridors had become fire traps. Aviation fuel streamed through ruptured lines, feeding explosions that tore apart hangars packed with armed aircraft. Men fought through smoke and heat, some perishing where they stood, others carried out by comrades who refused to abandon them. Admiral Nagumo and his staff, surrounded by devastation, debated impossible options. Control of the ship was slipping, communications were breaking down, the sea itself seemed to conspire against them. What had been the spearhead of Japanese naval power just hours earlier was now a drifting furnace. Even as sailors gave everything to save her, the realization grew clearer. Akagi could not be saved. The pride of the fleet was mortally wounded, and soon the order would come that no sailor wished to hear. When the flames proved unstoppable, desperation gave way to the unthinkable command, abandon ship. At last, the command was given, abandon ship. Sailors leapt into the Pacific, leaving behind friends still trapped in burning compartments. Some wept, others saluted the flag they could not save. Japanese destroyers drew near, tasked with ending what the Americans had begun. Torpedoes slammed into Akagi's ruined hull, ensuring she would never fall into enemy hands. By nightfall, the mighty carrier was gone, swallowed by the ocean she once ruled. Her loss left a scar not only on Japan's navy, but on every man who had called her home. Akagi's sinking marked quite a decisive fracture in Japan's destiny. The Battle of Midway ended with 4 Japanese carriers, namely Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, and Hiryu, all 4 giants lost in a single day. This devastating blow shattered the core of Japan's carrier striking force, removing its most experienced pilots, flight crews, and commanding officers in one swift stroke. For the first time in the war, Japan no longer held the initiative in the Pacific. The loss of Akagi as flagship symbolized the collapse of a strategy built on speed, surprise, and overwhelming force. In contrast, America's carrier strength, though still limited, grew stronger with every month. Midway marked a true turning point. The Japanese Navy would never again mount an offensive of such scale. The ocean that once carried Akagi's power now shifted against her nation, altering the trajectory of the Pacific War forever. Yet Akagi's story did not end in fire. It lingered just beneath the waves. For decades after Midway, Akagi remained lost to the depths, remembered only in survivor accounts and naval records. To Japan, she symbolized both pride and painful loss, the flagship that had led the nation's rise, yet also the harbinger of its fall. In 2019, explorers aboard the research vessel Petrel finally located her wreck, resting nearly 3 miles beneath the Pacific surface. The discovery revealed haunting details: her flight deck torn open, hull twisted by explosions, scars of the day that sealed her fate. Seeing Akagi again after 77 years gave historians and sailors alike a chance to reflect, not only on strategy and tactics, but on the human cost of naval warfare. She remains a time capsule of sacrifice, a silent reminder of how one ship's fall helped shape the destiny of nations.